Hey, welcome to a Gutsy Guy channel. I am your host, Chris Mastery. This is the channel we talk about all things related to our guts. We're going to get down and dirty with Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, and of course, all things related to IBDs. We're going to touch on medications and side effects, but this is a show where we're going to learn how to eat clean, to juice the right things, to make a shake that's good for your digestive system, what probiotics to take, and of course, all supplements that are going to help us live a healthy and natural lifestyle. So if you haven't hit that notification bell, hit it right now. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that as well, because I'm going to be releasing new episodes weekly as we go on this journey to learn more about our guts. So thanks for joining me for another episode of A Gutsy Guy. Thanks for joining me for another episode of A Gutsy Guy. Today we have one of the most popular topics, I think, because of the things that we talk about in terms of IBDs, colitis, Crohn's, IBSs. Everybody wants to know how to get into remission or how to stay in remission. This is one of those ones where at one point in my life I always wondered if I would ever get into remission and stay in remission for a long period of time. I struggled for about 14, 15 years with the colitis that I had. And I'm going to use the disclaimer here because it's a good place to do it. Obviously, I'm no doctor, no dietitian, no nutritionist. I'm not a GI. I'm just telling you the things that have worked for me. So feel free to try some of them out. Obviously, certain things you may want to run by your doctor or dietitian or nutritionist or naturopath. It's always a good idea, but, pretty excited about this one because, it's something that I just struggled with over years. Had no idea I could actually get into any kind of remission. And I guess it just took me at the lowest point and the most desperate place I'd ever been in my life for me to finally sit there and say, okay, nothing's working. The meds aren't working. I'm not seeing the results with the medications, and some of the meds were making me extremely, extremely sick. Like the side effects were just unreal. Nausea, vomiting, couldn't stand, couldn't walk, didn't have no energy. Like we talk about brain fog with colitis, but I mean the brain fog was to a next level where my memory was just, I was just forgetting things plain, straight and simple. And, I figured there was a better way. And, so I kind of want to talk about some of the strategies to getting into remission and staying into remission. I went through a period of 6 years of remission. I'm entering a little flare just as a disclaimer. You know what? A lot of this takes a lifetime of habitual changes. And, I fell off some of those changes for a while there. And, you know what? Here I am in a little bit of a flare. The cool thing is I am managing it very well. I'd say this would be a very minor flare, even without the meds, because I'm not on meds right now. But you know what? Long story short, I kind of want to talk about it. And, number one, I want to kind of talk about one of the first strategies is number one, or a food journal or a food diary. I think this is key. One of the things I did early on was try to find the foods that were causing me grief, the foods that were causing me pain, the foods that I wasn't digesting very well. And, this is such a vast topic because so many people deal with so many different things. And, you could be like, red meat might not bother you, but it might bother somebody else. Dairy might not bother you, but it might bother somebody else, right? So these are some of the things that you need to figure out for yourself. Now, I switched from some things and I found alternatives. And that's kind of what the food journaling will allow you to do, is switch from certain ways into other ways, right? So I switched dairy. I don't eat a lot of dairy, drink a lot of dairy. So, if I have some pizza, I'll have some cheese on it, obviously. I don't really go out of my way to put cheese on my pasta or have cheese on my sandwiches or my burger. I try to stay away from that kind of stuff. If I am eating that stuff, a lot of times I won't eat these things while in a flare, though. Might once in a blue moon, but I try to stay away from them for the most part. And this leads me into number two. Number two of the strategies of remission, and getting into the strategies of remission, is finding your food triggers. You need to find the things that hurt you, the things that are not working for you. And then those are the things that you need to eliminate out of your diet. If you can do that, you are going to be way more successful than as if you don't. Just some of those simple little basic strategies right there will probably take you a good 30 or 40% of the way. You know, staying away from junk food, pop, anything in a bag, box, jar, can, anything that's processed, fast food, something that maybe you didn't cook. Now, listen, we all live busy lives, but your health sometimes has to come first, right? Because, man, I'm telling you, when I'm eating on point with stuff, I never thought I'd get a regular bowel movement again. But when I'm eating on point, man, I get regular bowel movements. When I eat off point, it's far from regular. So those are some things that I try to do. But finding the triggers was really key, whatever those are to you. Number three for the strategies for remission, practicing some stress management techniques. Now, I've kind of alluded to some of these in some of my previous videos. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. I am going to do a specific video on some of the things I do. I'm just going to mention them today. But the thing about these ones, a lot of it has to do with up here. You know, I know it's a really difficult thing when you're stressed and all you can think of is negative things, and the stress is piling up, and maybe you're not working, and maybe your healthcare has eliminated, you know, the funding for your medication, and the stress is going through the roof. Easier said than done, obviously, in some cases. You know, sometimes we're in situations where, you know, we're ready to lose our home or our car or our relationship or our marriage or whatever it is, and stress is through the roof. We've all been through situations where it's hard to control the stress. One of the things I like to do, I really like to meditate. I like to slow things down for myself. I find meditation allows me to clear my thoughts, allows me to focus on the things I want to focus on. And if you're not familiar with meditation, like I said, I will go through some of these strategies and how I utilize them in another video. But meditation is such a key one, because you being able to control your mind instead of your mind control you. A lot of times our mind is thinking of the worst case scenario. It's always thinking of what's the worst thing that can happen, you know, or is it ever going to get better? It's probably only going to get worse. If you can practice some strategies like meditating wise, where you're thinking about positive things, saying, you know what, it may be like this right now, but it's not always going to be like this. You know what? It makes a world of difference having those positive insights into yourself. I also like to practice breathing strategies. And like I said, as I go through I'm going to go through a stress management video and show you what I do and how I do it and some of those kind of things. But breathing strategies, there's a few different types of breathing strategies that you can utilize. It'll help you to slow down. It'll help your body just to relax. It'll help your mind to relax. Breathing is such a key, important part to our lives, and we oftentimes take it for granted because we're so busy and the stress overwhelms us, so we're not getting full breaths in. You need to control it, if that's a good way to say it, because I mean, we just naturally breathe, and it's something that you don't control. But you need to actually control your breathing. You need to control what you're doing with that, and then also allow your mind to relax as you're relaxing it. Some of the other things I do, I like to pray. I'm a spiritual person. Not everybody is. I'm not going to tell you to be spiritual, but I find praying helps me to, I guess, just clear my mind. It's almost like venting, I guess you could say, where I'm venting out some of the things that I'm dealing with, changing my mindset and my, the things that are stressing me out, being able to talk about them. Finding another one here is finding another person that you can talk to and vent about, right? A good strategy, somebody that will understand you and not judge you. That's actually key. One of the biggest things you can do is doing that. And then this is a pretty simple one, a little bit of exercise, right? Now, a lot of times I'm a big believer in, like, when I'm trying to heal, I try not to do too much extraneous exercise, so nothing too strenuous on my body or my mind where I'm like totally exhausted, because that takes away from the ability of my body to heal, because I want the blood and the energy to flow into my intestinal areas, right? But if I'm extraneously running to the point of exhaustion, or I'm working out and I can barely move afterwards, well, now all the healing stuff is going to other areas of my bodies, wherever it is. So I like to do a little bit of exercise, but we're talking light exercise, a few jumping jacks, some push-ups, just something really light, maybe a walk around the block, maybe a couple kilometers, whatever it is for you. Try to do those things. Just those basic stress management techniques will help you to manage some of the stress of it. Number 4 of stress management techniques for remission. This is, I think, a key one. Come up with a plan and follow it. Now, okay, what are you talking about plan, Chris? Like, plan? Really? Yeah, I'm talking about a plan. So, you know what? Okay, maybe it's like almost like a day timer where you're like, okay, I got to get up in the morning. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I get home from work. I got to blah, blah, blah. And you just follow that. Okay, so what are you doing in there? Do you have time for meal prep? Right? Super key. This one's going to encompass a few different things, right? But meal prep is key, right? I generally do most of my meal prepping on Sundays. So I will meal prep my Sunday afternoons, so that I have meals for at least 3 or 4 days during the week. So I'm not stressing about food. And then I'm also not buying junk food or eating out, McDonald's or other fast food restaurants and stuff like that. Maybe sometimes I'll cook 2 different types of food so that the meals last and I'm not getting bored of the foods I'm eating, right? Because that's also key. Enjoy the food that you're eating, right? So that one sometimes we take for granted, but if I'm meal prepping, sometimes I'll cook like 2 different types of chicken instead of one. That way I'm not eating the same chicken for 3 or 4 days. But following that plan, so in the mornings, what's one of the first things I do? Obviously get myself ready for work, brush my teeth, shower, all the whatever those type of things are that you follow your routine in the morning. The other thing I do, I make sure I make my shake first thing in the morning. It's the first thing I do. And I have a shake video. Feel free to search through the channel and find that. Maybe if I learn how to do it, I'll post it above. But my shake video is the first thing I do. It's one of the first things that allows me to get some nutrients into my body, fills me up. It helps me to set my day, gives me energy. And a lot of the things I put in the shake actually help with inflammation and help fight the IBDs that we deal through. What does your plan looks like, right? Number 5 are the strategies for getting in or staying in remission, right? Eating accordingly, right? So sticking to that plan and eating accordingly. What are you eating? What are the types of foods are you eating? And I know it's kind of rehashing some of the things we talked about, but this is that one where I almost think it's almost like a two-edged sword where you could literally be on the verge of remission, and then you decide, you know what, I'm just gonna have McDonald's today because I haven't seen blood in my stool. I haven't had major diarrhea and all that kind of stuff in a while. And then you have that McDonald's with that Sprite, and those greasy fries and stuff like that, and it sets you back. You may not necessarily see the blood or some of the other things through that, but it'll set you back and you won't even know it. And then you're like, oh, well, I ate one McDonald's meal. No, I'm going to have Wendy's tomorrow. I'm going to have KFC or whatever. I'm just going to go home and I see the kids have been eating cookies and there's some cookies at home. So you got to really eat accordingly. This one, some people may laugh at it. Some people may not. I like this one because I like to try to look at the glasses half full, half empty, right? So I'm always looking at things on a positive note, like it may look really bad. It may look like it's never going to turn around. It may look like the end is near, right? But I'm a very big believer in the positive vibes that you get from having positive energy and positive people around you. Just thinking in a positive manner instead of a negative manner. What good is thinking negatively? It's not going to change anything. Oh, woe is me. Like, I got colitis and my life sucks and I can't do anything and I can't eat anything. That's not changing the situation, right? So if it's not changing the situation, maybe thinking positively positively is going to help me enjoy life a little bit, right? It's not going to be great, and you might hate lots of portions of your life at the moment. I know I did in the past when I was going through some of the big flares. I really hated life. It kind of sucked. I was depressed, down, stressed, all those kind of things. Went through the whole range of emotions. But you know what? Thinking positively is such an underrated thing. Having positive affirmations, talking, it kind of bounces back to practicing stress management techniques. But having those positive affirmations, you know what? I can get healed. I can go into remission. I'm going to be going into remission. If I follow this plan, I'm going into remission. Why not say those things instead of saying the negative things? I'm a big believer in speaking life into your situation instead of negativity. I'm a big believer also in that, you know, a lot of times we don't even realize it. We're calling things on ourselves and not even realizing we are. Oh, I always hit red lights. Man, you look at that, and I never get good parking stalls. I always have to park at the back. Man, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Every time you go there, you're going to park at the back. Every time you go there, every time you leave the house, you're going to hit every red light along the way. And it's just one of those things. It just kind of happens. And you're kind of calling on yourself. Try to sit there and say, you know, just try it. I've done this before, and I don't practice it as much as I should. But just try it. Oh man, today I'm going to hit every green light. Or I'm just going to be able to drive wherever I want. And I'm going to hit very few red lights. I'll guarantee you, you're going to notice a huge difference. Sometimes what we focus on expands. Something called the reticular activating system. You know, if you buy a blue Honda, and you're like, man, I never see blue Hondas on the road. Next thing you know, you drive that blue Honda and you look and you'll see 1,000 blue Hondas on your next trip out, because you know what? It's something that became important to you, right? So having things become that are important to you and focusing on them, if it's in the negative, you will find more negative things to talk about. If it's positive, you'll find more positive things to talk about. So that's number 6. I'm going to go into number 7 now because I want to keep the video fairly short. Number 7, staying focused and disciplined. Okay, this is a tough one, right? Because man, I want to have a cheat meal. I want to eat a piece of cake at a birthday party. You know, sometimes I want to have wings with the boys when I go out, or, you know, it's one of the girls are having to get together and they have like popcorn and chips and, you know, all sorts of crazy foods and stuff like this. Maybe do gourmet nights or whatever it is, right? But staying disciplined. Listen, I'm not saying you can't have those kind of foods, but like I said earlier, sometimes having certain foods will set you back. If you know what your triggers are, then you can stay away from those things. Okay, well, cake's not really my trigger, but chips are. Chocolate's not really my trigger, but this is, right? Having a small amount might be okay for you. But staying focused and staying disciplined is one of the hardest things. Sometimes we get discouraged, sometimes we get setbacks, sometimes life is just hounding us and we're stressed and we're not practicing those stress management techniques, and you're just overwhelmed. And you're like, oh, there's a bag of chips. Oh, the kids left some cookies out. Oh, you know, I'm going to stop at the corner store and pick up a chocolate bar and a Slurpee or whatever it is, right? Depends on what your likes and dislikes are. Listen, staying that discipline, if you are on the verge of remission, if you stay disciplined, you will reach the remission. So I want to talk about this because this, I think, is a super key one. We're kind of venturing a little bit into number 7, but listen, remission, just because you have a good day or a good week with no blood in your stool and stuff like that, doesn't mean you're in remission. Your body takes longer to heal on the inside than it does, you know what I mean, when you're not noticing some of the symptoms you're going through, right? Just because your brain fog is not as bad as it was, and like you said, you're maybe not fully diarrhea and there's no blood in your stool, doesn't mean you're fully healed. When you're fully healed from that, it means you're in remission. Right? And that could take, I mean, maybe it does take a couple, 2-3 weeks for some people. Maybe it's short. Some people it might take a couple of months, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Everybody's different. That's the whole point of this. But what I wanted to emphasize to you is that if you can stay disciplined for a long enough period of time, you will surely see some sort of results with that. Now, you may be the person that, and you know, who knows, you may not see major results and you may struggle with the colitis or the Crohn's or any of the IBDs for the rest of your life. I don't know. But if you are really serious, I know when I was at my lowest point, desperate beyond belief, desperate, if I'm telling you desperate, I was like, listen, I ate plain chicken breast. I boiled and cooked all my vegetables. I didn't put no seasonings on, nothing. I juiced, I made shakes, I made smoothies, and when I'm talking vegetables, it was like mostly like carrots and like boiled carrots and, you know, maybe sometimes boiled broccoli because that doesn't really bother me, cauliflower. I didn't have a whole lot in my diet, right? Sometimes I'd steam some peppers, but I tried to stay away from peppers. I didn't eat a whole lot of variety of food. I'd do like white rice or there's some brown rices that are not as hard. Sometimes I would do that. I hate doing white things because I think they're bleached, or I know they're bleached. So anything that has chemicals and stuff, I really want to keep out of my body. Try to get the organic chicken, right? Try to get the organic, natural vegetables as well. No pesticides. Those are the things I wanted because I wanted my body to get a chance to heal. So I'm juicing with organic vegetables more than, you know, sometimes you're just at the corner store or the grocery store and you're like, oh, I need to pick up stuff. I get it. It's a little bit of money, needs a little bit of a budget, and you may not be able to afford it all the time. But even if you're doing some of these things, man, I'm telling you, my grocery bill went down because I wasn't cooking all these kind of crazy foods, buying all these sauces, using ketchup on everything, and doing all this other kind of stuff, right? Long story short, that discipline really helped me. When I was at my lowest, I found within a couple of weeks, and I finally started following following my diet plan, you know, juicing regularly. I did a couple of juice fasts and allowed my body to reset, and then I went really hard into this plan where I was eating very plain foods, but I just stuck to that. And honestly, within a month, I noticed huge difference. Huge difference. Within 2 months, I didn't even know if I wasn't healed, I didn't know I wasn't because I just didn't have any symptoms at all. By the 3rd month, I think that's when I was really feeling really good. Now I was still eating very plain, and yeah, it sucked. My taste buds were craving, I shouldn't say it. My taste buds had grown comfortable with what I was eating. But my mind was like, oh, you need a chocolate bar. Let's just grab a chocolate bar or something, right? But to be honest with you, when I was juicing and eating all that stuff, I had no taste for any junk food. I remember one time I did have a piece of birthday cake or something, and it tasted extremely sweet to me. And it wasn't one of those store-bought ones. It was a homemade one, so it wasn't super sweet, but it just tasted really sweet to me. And I was like, oh geez, you just kind of grow out of that taste, all those unnatural sugars and things that are put in foods, right? So I was eating more organic, more natural food, so I didn't have really a taste for the sugars. Listen, we talked about the 7 strategies for remission, getting into remission and staying in remission. That's the key, right? We all want to get into remission and we all want to stay in remission, right? However long your remission lasts, I think is kind of up to you. Like I said, I did years and years and years of staying in remission, staying fairly disciplined. If you look at some of the recipes I have on the channel, I'll be posting more of those as well. Trying to keep things really simple, fairly basic, but trying to give myself a variety of different foods that I like to eat so I'm not getting bored. Strategy number 1, get a food journal. Number 2, find your food triggers. Number 3, stress management techniques. Number 4, follow a plan. Number 5, eat according to that plan. Number 6, positive reinforcement and affirmations. Number 7, stay focused and stay disciplined. Okay, so hopefully these strategies helped you guys. I hope you guys are really enjoying the video. No, I don't usually say it as much as I should, but please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We want to help as many people as you can, and the YouTube algorithm really likes it when you're liking it, making a comment, sharing it, those kind of things. It allows other people to see this who may need this information. Hopefully you'll find some value and some things that will help you in your life. Thanks again and have a fabulous week. Thanks for joining me for another episode of The Gutsy Guy. Hopefully you all got some value out of that episode. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, and the thumbs up. Make sure you give those all a click right now. And hopefully you all are staying healthy and happy. See you on the next episode.